So Pat, what happened here then?
So, very unusual circumstances. The sprinklers were vandalised, so weren't working. The new turf was laid last Thursday. We weren't expecting the glorious weather we had over the weekend. Normally we have rain and cold. And so basically the turf just dried up. Now, the council should have picked up why the sprinklers weren't working and shouldn't have let this go.
How were they vandalised? How do you vandalise a sprinkler system? Go around digging?
The kids were trying to make them more powerful. That's what we've got on the camera. The kids were trying to basically get the water out on them, basically. And basically the water was there to keep the turf, growing and alive.
It does worry me about the weekend sometimes in the city centre, because the bins in St Anne's Square are overflowing as usual. But can you not just rally an army together with watering cans and get them out? Because there's about 10 people there. Couldn't they just have come out and watered it?
Well, the chief executive's gone in to look into that. I've asked her to look into why the council didn't pick up, why the sprinklers weren't working, and why did we just leave it to dry up?
Good question. Do you think on the weekends we've got enough flexibility in the city centre to cope with sudden, it's not an emergency as such, but it was something that's cost a lot of money, no doubt?
At the moment, no, it's not in place, and you're right about the bins. When we get hot weather, all the bins, we're probably used to cold weather and rain, and when things get really, really wall-to-wall people in these places, I personally think we're not geared up. So it's a fair question.
How much did we lose?
I've no idea. It's asked by all the media organisations. The chief exec will have to talk to the contractor, maybe the council's insurers about the vandalism. So my main job is to get this up and get new turf down, and that will be growing and will look like the grass that I can see behind you, which to me is perfectly acceptable.
Does that grass die because there's too much water coming from that fountain? Or is there just too many people on it?
There's too many. I mean, it sounds strange to say, but it's a victim of its own success. It's when the nice weather's on, it's wall-to-wall people. We have countless demonstrations here and gatherings, which we don't ban. And so all the grass there is churned up all the time, and that's why we have to returf. People ask me, why are you spending money on returfing? Because the grass is churned up all the time.
So that brings me back to my old chestnut, doesn't it? Why bother with it? We've got St Peter's Square down the way, which is a model square. It looks absolutely superb, clean, pin sharp. Here, it's always a disaster about to happen. Whenever we have any warm weather, 3 weeks later, and there's a bit of rain after it, it's a churned up mud bath.
Well, you first raised this with me about 30 years ago.
I think it was 40.
And all credit to you for being consistent in that. I still think it's a minority view in Manchester from all the feedback we get, and I think when you put it out in Confidential once, it was a minority view or a mixed view on it. The problem is you're disturbing history, you're disturbing about the name of Piccadilly Gardens, and you'd have to relaunch the whole concept again. I'm not completely closed off to it, but it seems to me when we get it right and it's high quality grass that I can see there on the other side, and on a summer day, people do like that experience.
I think we need to make sure the smaller pocket parks around the city centre are better kept. I was in Liverpool yesterday, and St John's Plateau, St John's Gardens at the back of St George's Hall, and the little gardens next to St Nicholas Church down near the pier head, they were exponentially better kept than Manchester's city centre gardens. So Liverpool, the similar demographics, similar social problems, how can they get it right and we keep getting it wrong?
I don't know, I mean, I'm open to it. Send me the pictures and I'll have a look at it.
I'll take you along on a train, have a cup of tea.
Yeah, definitely have a look at it to see, if they're putting extra resources into it or whatever. I mean, there's no earthly reason that we don't want the best for Manchester, really, and, because I have to do constant interviews about Piccadilly Gardens. This cock-up over the weekend in terms of vandalism and hot weather and all that, I mean, it's a rare circumstance.
Well, as long as you don't replace it with AstroTurf that you have done down in Cathedral Gardens.
That's been put to me this morning by the town hall that we should use AstroTurf, and I'm told that you can burn AstroTurf, and obviously sitting on AstroTurf is like sitting on, sawpaper.
Yeah. What, they seriously said we could use AstroTurf here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's that bombshell.
On that bombshell.
Thank you very much, Pat. Anyway, thanks very much
bombshell.
for your frankness as usual.
No problem.